I was left for dead. That's how my journey in entrepreneurship started. I left the corporate world and my finance and MBA degrees behind me to share my story. Welcome to That Entrepreneur Show, where resilience meets hustle. Let's build and learn from our guest now.
So really doing your homework and making sure that they are the right ones. And as you said, make a warm referral to somebody that says, hey, I know this investor, why don't you talk to them? And going to events and introducing yourself and getting out there in places that matter, not the places that don't.
We are starting the day with a returning guest, someone who's been on a bunch of my podcasts and originally met on a book coaching call. So Robbie, thank you for coming back.
Thank you. It's fun.
I'm excited to have you back here on That Entrepreneur Show. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the show that teaches you how to start, run, and scale your business in an industry where there is no textbook or blueprint. I want to thank you for helping reach this show, a top 2.5% global podcast, and we're on our way to continue growing with great guests like Robbie who have come back. Not everybody has probably caught all of your shows. The loyal listeners have, but for those who haven't, reintroduce yourself to our audience and where you're streaming in from.
So I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I worked in the corporate world for 25 years, realized was very successful by all those measures. Didn't feel successful, thought there has to be more to life than this. And so I got fed up and I entered the entrepreneurial world and I've never looked back. I've written a couple of books, have a third one on the way, have been a mentor for 30 years, been a coach, CEO coach, et cetera, and passionate about empowering women and getting them to stand tall and own the room, raised a couple of angel funds, been an angel investor forever. And I just released 3 guides to they're going to accompany my third book, but they're out on my website about, I call it the Mentor Capital series. It's for women about angel investing, where I want more women to be angel investors so we can fund more women founders. I want more women and men to be mentors and understand that human capital is as valuable as your financial capital. And then I did a book on women founders and leaders on sort of the tips and tricks of being a woman, because the world wasn't built for us. So those are out there now. I just released the last one. They're on the website. They're not printed or whatever. They're flip books. So eventually they'll be books, but right now they're there for you to look at.
That preview hopefully motivated everyone to what's coming, but I want to stop right there. You created some new guides on your website. Walk us through that, and then which website can we find you at? I've got her email on here right now, but I'm going to switch it over.
Oh, yeah. So you know what I did? I didn't put my website up there. I put my email. That was silly. Sorry.
Hey, it's all right. Everyone, you can get in touch with her via email.
Yeah, so you can. RobbieHardy.com. So these are out there. So they are guides that sort of, they're for women because everything, this is where my passion and mission is. And so it's what are the things that you need to know about being an angel investor? Women like to know what they're doing. They don't jump in when the pool doesn't have any water in it. And they're very willing to learn, willing to learn. They don't have FOMO. They don't have that fear of missing out like my male colleagues and, that they're going to miss the unicorn or whatever. So it's educating them in a way that is very digestible and it's not full of legal terms and kind of there's a glossary in there. There's when you're looking at a deal, what are the things you should look at? It's the tips and tricks. That's the first one that came out is angel investing. Similarly, on helping people understand what mentor capitalist. I've been a mentor capitalist for 30 years. And that means that, I use my human capital, my experience, my brain, whatever, to help people, guide them to do various things. And we need more of that. And people to appreciate that what they have is valuable, not to make them arrogant or difficult, but for them to recognize that that's there. And then the last one is, for women founders, how to navigate that world, and for women leaders still building with inside a company.
What's one piece of advice you can give a female business owner who's just starting today, now that you've had all this great experience and you do so much great mentoring, which we will get into because she does it at a pretty high university, what's some advice you could give to a brand new female business owner who may be hearing on today?
I think that know that you are in the right place. You should be doing what you're doing, assuming you have the experience of, the domain, the business that you're going into. I think one of the biggest things that happen to women is they fall into what I call the flattery trap. Men, everybody needs women, or they did more. Now is not necessarily that's the case, but we needed women at the table, and you had to have your quota. And so women got invited to lots of things to fill that quota. We don't have those quotas at the moment, but that whole mentality. And so it still exists where you get invited because you're a woman. And sometimes that's okay, because that gives you exposure. So when you get that invitation or that opportunity, make sure that it works for you, because sometimes there was a few years back where there were all these investor conferences in Dubai, and all these young women got invited to go pitch in Dubai at their own expense. So, and it's hard not to think, well, oh my God, what'll I do? They promise all this stuff. And so it seems weird for me to say that, but I think there's a lot of that happens. And so I want women to look at, customers, investors, whatever, you look at them and people that you hire, that, you're doing this and they're doing it for all the right reasons. And, due diligence, both sides, is very valuable.
I love that advice. And I can even relate with in the business world where it's very easy to get taken advantage of. And I learned a few years ago, and it's more often than I'd like to admit, because I have a lot of conversations off LinkedIn and these other places where it's not as hidden as it used to be for me. I can recognize signs of when someone's trying to pull a fast one. So thank you for bringing that. Go ahead.
I mean, it's just hard when somebody reaches out to you to not, particularly if it looks like it's something big, and sometimes it is something big, but it's really, and then when you go, then you find that you're sort of, pushed aside and not at the right side of the table, so to speak.
I love the advice. Everyone, don't give up. We're going to have the website up here for a little longer and then revisit at the end. So that way you can go ahead and check out these free resources she has online to supplement her book. Let's go back to your first VC deal. Walk us through that.
As a founder?
When you first got into VC world, because I know it's a big passion for you now.
Yeah. So I had a company. When I left the corporate world and started a software company, and I was raising money, and I ended up selling before I got money from VCs, but I did have a lot of money from angels. So my world is angel investing, which is the same but different than venture. At the end of the day, it's money that funds startups. But my experience, I have to say, in that first time when I was talking to, they were all, I think I can say this, they were all successful entrepreneurs who had exited. And so they knew a lot. They were all men, and they really didn't know, this is a long time ago, they didn't know what to do with me. So they just kind of went along, and I didn't know what I was doing, even though I'd worked in M&A in the corporate world. And there were all these terms, and I know piggyback rights. I mean, all this stuff. I'm like, people are making this stuff up that's in these term sheets that I'm looking at, but I had a great lawyer. And so my first experience was daunting in that I didn't know what I was doing, but it was very successful in that I had a great group of people who actually, some of them ended up on my board, who really did make a big difference for me in building my company. And that kind of goes into I had done my homework on them because I'd already been in the corporate world, and I knew some of the BS that can happen. Sure. And so I really did check these guys out. It was hard to not just go after maybe bigger money, that might have been easier, but they were extremely helpful. And that's another message of it is, the power of your connections and your network is priceless. And none of us can do what we're doing. And I certainly couldn't have done anything without my network, and those guys were part of that.
Network is your net worth. I've had a few people bring that up here on the show over the years, so I can't coin that term.
I know. I use that too. I know. So we all try to coin it. We could claim it as ours.
I mean, even if you look at the business world, how hard it is to obtain a cold lead, turn them into a client or a customer, opposed to, hey, Vin, I've got a friend who wants a podcast. And much more simple. So I
Oh,
love
yeah, the warm lead. And it's not just the referrals. It's, I'm looking for XYZ, an employee, or I want to brainstorm with you. It's just, when I was building my first company, I was going back to people I hadn't seen in 10 or 15 years and kind of getting a lot done and I ended up having this airport squad with it because we all met we all traveled all the time and had traveled in the corporate world. And so anyway, those guys, these tribes or squads or whatever you want to call them in your life that are extraordinarily valuable.
I love
and
that.
You're valuable to them. It's not a one-way street. It's what goes around comes around.
Absolutely. It's mutually beneficial to everyone, helping everyone grow. These are things in entrepreneurship you need because you are alone a lot of the time, but you do need the support system, the circle to help keep you going, help their network supplement some of your weaknesses. I've loved everything we've talked about, but I did promise before we revisit your mentoring. I know you're very passionate about that too. Was it Duke?
Yeah, I'm a mentor in residence at Duke.
Let's talk about some of your favorite parts about doing that.
So, I've been a mentor privately mentor coach for 30 years this year. Scary. And I've been doing the work at Duke for almost 3 years. It's the same, but it's different. You have academic founders. This is what we do is we work with doctors or scientists or PhD students or postdocs who have an idea, have an innovation, whether it be drug discovery, a device, technology, AI, wearables, all that kind of thing. But they have a day job. And so, I'm always encouraging the non-academics, don't quit your day job, and the ones in academia are like, I'm not quitting my day job. So it's a very different kind of way of going about it. And the interesting part is you get to see things that I've seen stuff that I would have never seen otherwise. And I get to use my network because I'm recruiting CEOs or COOs or whatever to help commercialize whatever it is that's in the university so it can spin out and become a commercially viable entity. And I get to coach these people and mentor them in the business world, which they really don't want to know about, but they need to, even though they're not going to actually go there themselves. And so learning how to have a scientist care about what's in the cap table, what's kind of a C Corp or an LLC, all those kinds of things, and be able to have them. So it's pushed me to be better at how do I do that and make it so that it works. So it's a two-way street. I've learned a lot. It's been a great experience.
I love everything you just said. Everyone, remember it. You can't get where you are if someone didn't help you at some point along the way. So I love how you give back. One of my favorite things is Big Brother, Big Sisters. I'm coming on 2 years in that organization.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is nice. I mean, I'm not a basketball player, but he wants to take that serious. So I bring him to the park and we play basketball. And then I have something where every morning he texts me his goal for the day.
Nice.
Whatever, 100 push-ups or to read a little bit, whatever. And if he hits the goals for the 2-week span, we'll take him to get sushi. He likes sushi. So we do these fun things to empower him to keep going. I always remind him, while I'm friendly, my role isn't to be your friend and tell you certain things. I'm trying to make your life better. And it's certainly inspiration from you, how you're able to continue doing this at such a high level. But Robbie, as we're getting ready towards the end, I always like to ask now for more advice. We asked for some advice for some early startup founders in the female world. Now, getting into the VC space as a female entrepreneur leader, you said you had a little adversity. You batted it out of the park. How can we help them do the same?
Again, if you're dealing with raising money, it is do the due diligence on them that they do on you. I think it's, and make sure that you're talking to the right investor. Do they invest, do you have a device or do you have software? Do they invest in that? Or are they a consumer investor? Or are they, an agricultural investor? Don't waste your time because it is very time consuming. You need to be running your company. Raising money is extremely it's time consuming. It's expensive because of the time it takes. Sure. So really doing your homework and making sure that they are the right ones. And as you said, make a warm referral to somebody that says, hey, I know this investor. Why don't you talk to them? And going to events and introducing yourself and getting out there in places that matter, not the places that don't. Just because your friend got money from a VC and they have an automotive product and you have something completely different. So it's hard to not just glom on to what other people are doing. You have to set your own path and know that it's the right place and do your homework and not be afraid to say this doesn't work for me when it looks so enticing. It's just going to be a time sink.
I love the advice, and that's a lot of strategic advice of how we're spending our time, even in the networking circle. When you go to a networking event, I was the young guy, hey, let me give out 100 business cards. What benefit does that do? Let's go in there strategically and talk to the people we need to speak with. Is there any national events people can go to learn more in the VC world, the angel investing world that you go to?
Well, there's an angel capital association that's actually international. So you certainly can go there to get information. There's a venture capital association, but it's really more for venture capitalists than it is for entrepreneurs. There's the entrepreneur organization, which is worldwide, and there's a lot of events that can help you there. So there's a lot out there, and there are incubators and all those kinds of things. But yes, you can learn a lot, and you can go to my website. I have a lot of stuff there too.
Yes, and I've got it up here, robbiehardy.com. Is there, I don't know if there's an app now or a website, kind of like a Kickstarter type thing. Is there a place where people who are new to this world and they are seeking funding, they don't have a big network, can go?
Get out? No. Well, yeah, but the problem is you're going in cold.
Yep.
So no, there's a lot, every community has network events where we sit in our car and think, God, I don't want to go in here. I don't know anybody. No one will know if I don't go. And then go in and drink bad wine. But that's what you have to do. I mean, that is, there's no substitute for that. And I hated it and would, sometimes I would not go and drive away, but going in and you realize over time. And then when you look back, it's like, wow. And you just wish you could, have that crystal ball then, but trust me, it's worth it.
Well, Robbie is also a great example of from going to the events for years and now speaking at the events. So I'm going to encourage everyone to go ahead and go check out her website. It's robbiehardy.com. But Robbie, before we sign off, let's look into the future. Summer, fall, winter, what are we planning for? What can we expect coming from you to follow along?
So I'm doing a bunch of speaking, and I'm also doing some personal travel. So I am taking a little bit of time away. And I'm working on my third book, which will come out in June of next year. It's about women in angel investing.
Make sure you let me know. We'll bring you back with authors because, you've been on that show too. We'll make sure we go scour and get all of our links in here so everyone can catch up with her journey. And I am taking that advice as well. For the last many years, I've been building this company, not taking much time off, let alone days off. So this summer as well, I'm prioritizing family, some time to do things. So thank you for that. Last bit of advice for everyone. If you haven't met burnout, you will if you're not taking time to break. So make sure you're prioritizing time off. Of course, everyone knows during football season, my day off is Sundays to watch my Jets lose and flip my mental health upside down. But it is my time off where I know I'll have my buffalo wings, the TV, no computer open. So definitely take time for yourselves. Robbie, one more time, other than your website, where can we find you online?
I'm on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn profile is there, I think, too.
Yep, I've got that right here. If anyone's going to watch this video back after it goes live, it will be in there right now. Make sure to connect with her. She's a great resource, especially if you're in her area. I would definitely try to say hello. My name is Vincent A. Lancey, and this is That Entrepreneur Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to stay current for the next entrepreneur to come your way. And with that, Robbie, we're signing off for another amazing show. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you. It was fun.